I'd like to introduce Angela from England, who has multiple sclerosis. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, Linda.
Could you tell us when you first noticed your MS symptoms?
I think it was about 6 years ago, but I didn't know, obviously, that it was MS then. I think the first sign was when I'd noticed when I woke up in the morning that one of my legs was feeling very numb, and I think that went on for a couple of months, and I just put it down to sleeping awkwardly or, whatever, and being busy and working and with a family, I just ignored it, and it just went away, and I didn't think anything more of it. But then I think about 5 years ago, I'd come back from holiday in Canada and thought I had a virus, and went back and forth to the doctors, and they couldn't really diagnose what was wrong with me. And then I lost all the feeling in my legs from my feet right up to my hips, and obviously got admitted into hospital and, for tests, and was eventually diagnosed. So yeah, it's about 5 years ago.
Sorry, what impact did it have on you being diagnosed?
It was very tough, really, because I recently got divorced, and it wasn't a great time, and it might have been to do with the sort of stress of that situation. But my mother-in-law from my ex-husband actually had MS, and she'd had it for many, many years. And, I just thought I was going to end up in exactly the same state as she was, which wasn't great, if I'm honest. So it didn't seem to be, a great sort of, there was no real treatment that she seemed to have, and, she could hardly walk. She's in a wheelchair, and basically didn't do anything with her life, so it was, so the thought of ending up like that, I think, was the scariest thing.
Oh, it's a very scary prospect, isn't it?
It was, yeah. So, and when I just felt like the consultant who, when I first was in hospital, he said, oh no, I think you're too old to have MS, because I was about 46 at the time. And then, of course, when they did the MRI scan, and I came back to see him, he said, well, no, actually, you have MS, and thank you very much, bye-bye, and handed me over to the MS nurse to pick you up off the floor. The consultants aren't that great at dealing with the fallout, are they, so, but I just found it really difficult to talk to anyone, because I just had in my mind this picture of my mother-in-law, so no, it wasn't great, no, but then you pick yourself up, and I think, they review you after 3 months, don't they, to see whether you've got the real nasty type, and if you're sort of okay after 3 months or so, then, maybe you realise it's not as bad, and your life still can carry on, even with this diagnosis, so.
Yes. So what was your MS like before you found LDN?
I think it was getting steadily, they say, I have a benign type, or they don't really, I don't think I have the relapsing remitting type, but every day I have symptoms, and I remember, it was at Christmas time, and my daughter had come up with me to try and go shopping, and I literally walked into next shop with my daughter. We literally walked into the shop, and I just had to say to her, I'm sorry, I've got to turn around and go home, because I just felt I couldn't even walk around the shop, because my legs just felt so bad that day, so it was like the numbness and the weird sensations, and it's like your legs were lead, so I just knew they weren't going to carry me around the shop. So it had a huge effect on the quality of your life, because I was still working, I'm still working now, but I just wonder without the LDN if I would still be working, because I knew at that. I think the sort of extremes of temperature really affect me, and we were having a pretty cold winter. It just sort of really limits what I could do,
Yeah.
So, I don't think the LDN has had any miraculous effect, but I think it, most of the time, it keeps me stable and it hasn't got worse. I've had a bad virus Christmas time, and I've had a few problems since then with the mobility, but I think that's down to the virus, So I think in terms of the fatigue, and I think it's had a huge effect, on just keeping me going and keeping me well, But where I would be, I think it's kept me stable. I don't know where I would be if, it just doesn't bear thinking about, really. But I know at that time I was really starting to struggle, and yet for the next sort of 2 years, until I've had this virus now, the mobility hasn't been perfect by any means, but it definitely improved things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it gave me a bit more confidence. You sort of tend to think, right, no, I can't go out, I can't do this, I can't do that, and it all gets a bit limiting, doesn't it, as to what you can do and what you can't do. So it did give me confidence. The only side effects I had were when I first started to take it, I have a lot of spasms in my legs, and I had a lot of muscle stiffness in the first 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to make me worse. But I persevered with it, and it's been fine. I haven't had any of the sort of bad nightmares or anything like that. But I have tried taking the LDN in the mornings, and that doesn't suit me. It suits me better to take it in the night. Mm-hmm. So I just take a tablet at night, and that seems to have worked better for me. So yeah.
So the symptoms you had, other than walking and the heat affecting you, did you have any other side of sorry, I'll say that question again. Did you have any other symptoms? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had the usual sort of MS fog. I've had the sort of really bad headaches and the, feeling a bit spaced out, dizzy, and the fatigue basically was just horrendous. It's all the loss of sensation and all the usual. I had bladder problems for years, and I was taking antibiotics because I was having constant what they thought were water infections, but now I realise all these years later that, it was probably the MS. But now I haven't taken antibiotics for water infection for over 18 months, I think. So I think it's definitely had an effect there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's helped the bladder problems, it's helped the fatigue. I think at one point I was starting to get, not depressed, but, starting to get very down about it all. Mm-hmm. So I think it's helped keep me positive with things, because once you lose your positivity, then you might as well give up, really, haven't you?
Yes. So how would you compare your quality of life now compare it with before LDN?
Well, up until I've had this recent virus, I would try and sort of push myself to, to do more or less what I used to do, but, within limitations. I know I can't sort of go walking huge distances or anything, but, I've kept working, I've kept trying to, keep the standard of what I do in my work up to what I used to do. And I just feel it stabilized me somehow. It just, mm-hmm. I really didn't know where things were going to end up with all of this. I just thought my general well-being was a lot better. So yeah. I think it was the lift my energy levels, really. Because the other things that I used to have were sort of problems with my eyes and sort of flashing lights and, I'd see lots of sort of spots in front of my eyes and things like that. I don't seem to have so much of that either, So I guess I've got to rely on LDN, and I keep on thinking, well, I'm afraid not to take it now because I really don't know where I would be, because, it might be a placebo. Some people might think it's a placebo, I don't know, but, I just feel it stabilized me, certainly. I mean, like I say, this virus has given me a bit of because it was a bronchitis, and obviously that's the worst, really. But I do think it's helped to keep me stable. So.
Good. What would you say to other people who are contemplating trying LDN?
Well, in the job I do, I've got lots of people, because there's 9,000 sort of people in work, and some of them, unfortunately, also have MS, and they're very scared to take anything without this sort of neurologist or doctor's advice. And what I would say is, as far as I'm aware, there are no side effects. I think for the type of MS that I have, there are no treatments, there are no drugs. It's not doing me any harm. It may be doing me a lot of good. So I don't think you've got anything to lose, really. It's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a drug, I mean, some of the drugs, as I understand it, because thank God I've been lucky enough not to need them, but I mean, if you take in, I don't know, is it methotrexate or something like that?
Yes.
It's basically poison, isn't it?
Yes.
So you're poisoning your system. I mean, they're drugs that they use for chemotherapy, and, so this is a drug that's been, as I understand it, in use for, 20, 30 years, and, there must be a body of research to show that there aren't huge amounts of side effects with it, because, as I understand it, it goes through your system within 4 hours, and it doesn't affect any of your major organs or, anything else. So why wouldn't you try it? But like I say, people are so, I guess because I work in a hospital environment, and, the general public think doctors and are God, and their word is, but they don't have all the answers. They really don't. They're human like the rest of us. Well, most of them. So it's, I would just say give it a try, because, it might work for you, it might not. It might have fantastic results for some people. It might, just like me, I think keep you stable, So, and that's, all you can ask for, isn't it? Is to try it, But yeah, I really think you've got nothing to lose, because the medical profession doesn't have all the answers all of the time, does it? And if enough of us are taking this and finding benefit from it, then there's got to be something in it. So.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
That's okay. You're welcome.
Now, I've also got to do a re-recording bit to go on the beginning, because I said you were from England and you're not. You're from Wales.
I was going to say.
So I'll just record that bit again. I'll just do the introduction again.
That's all right. I didn't want to say because you were so tired. I thought.
Right. Shush a minute.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Angela from Wales, who has multiple sclerosis. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, Linda.
So that bit can be put in the beginning because it's going to be edited anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to go to bed.
You're welcome. Good